I know there are a lot of great New Yorkers that are really fearful right now, and I really do feel for them. There's a lot of people that live in New York City, not because they want to, but because they have to for their job. A lot of my colleagues at Fox News being some of those people, and I really do feel for them. But aside of those folks, I'm happy that New York City got this, because I think that the whiny, narcissistic, coexist liberals here that have been clapping for this coexist stuff, clapping for more immigration, for more diversity, all this stuff, I'm happy that they got it because they've been telling us they want it. But you know what I think is going to be the dark underbelly of all this? A lot of these white, rich liberals, now that they've got it, I think that they're secretly terrified. And I am so happy that they got exactly what they wanted. And I hope that they are just coexisting with the best of them. There is one athletic brand that stands up for free speech and women's sports. The brand is XXXY Athletics. The clothes are high quality. When you wear them, you also make a statement that you stand with women and girls and for fairness in sports. You no longer have to sacrifice fit, quality, and performance to wear your values. XXXY Athletics makes world-class workout gear. Their legit leggings are moisture-wicking, they're quick-drying, and the fit is fantastic. They hold you in without holding you back. And for men, the Courageous Core Short is everything you need in a workout short. High-performance fabric, secure pockets, quick drying, and so soft you'll barely know they're there. They also do great casual stuff. The logo tee says you're on Team Common Sense. So don't give your money to athletic brands that don't stand up for women, fair competition, and free speech. Head to thetruthfits.com, enter promo code OUTKICK20 to get 20% off, only at thetruthfits.com. Democrats are super stoked about their victories, and good for y'all. I'm glad you'll finally get to experience your socialist crap up close and personal, and I hope you enjoy it. One thing, though, after y'all finish totally screwing up your blue cities and states, you'll decide to flee to our great red states with your coexist and your no human is illegal yard signs. You'll vote for Democrats, you'll tell us we need to be more inclusive, and you'll tell us we should embrace your woke crap. We aren't gonna, and we don't want you here, so please don't come. You made your bed, so stay there. I'd add, Jay Jones is the winner of the AG race in Virginia. What does that say about Democrat voters? There's a bottom of the moral barrel, and y'all are scraping it for dear life. So never again do I want to hear a Democrat crow about decency or morality or the rhetoric of the right. You're done. Joining me now is host of the We the People podcast, Gates Garcia. Gates, what do you think about what we saw yesterday, the results? Do you think that it's kind of just an anomaly, a one-off? These are blue cities, these are blue states, not a big surprise? Or do you think it's something Republicans need to be a little concerned about?
Well, I'm fired up by your intro. I'm going to stay on my heels here, but no, look, I think that part of last night was surprising and part of it was not. It wasn't necessarily surprising to me that, these states remained blue or turned blue, whatever we want to say. But more surprising was the actual policies that are being enacted or voted for in these states. And I mean, it's not a state, but New York City is probably the most polarizing one of them all. I mean, Zohran Mamdani's agenda is like an open bar. Okay, everything's free, everyone's cheering, and it feels like the party of your life. But the morning after, you're left with a hangover, and it's the size of a city budget, broke, regretful, and wondering who's going to clean up the mess. Every generation has tried these socialist policies, from the Soviets to Venezuela, and it always ends up the same. At first, people are drunk on promises. Then they wake up with empty shelves, empty wallets, and empty hearts. We've seen this movie before. The party starts in Havana and it ends in Caracas, and I'm not sure that places like New York, places like Minneapolis are going to recover from this. I think that so much destruction can be done that these places don't come back. Now, there's the argument out there that this is the greatest night for Republicans because it truly gives a platform to these wild, wacky, loony, socialist, communist policies. But I hope that the damage isn't done so bad that we can't get our greatest American cities back.
I share that concern, but I gotta say, I'm happy that he won. I really am. And here's why. If Cuomo would have won, the city would still not be in a great place, right? Because Cuomo's an idiot. And even though he doesn't deem himself a socialist, when he was governor, he did a lot of things that I would say are pretty progressive. So they would have gotten Cuomo. The city still wouldn't have been great, right? But then when it failed, because it still would under Cuomo, and things wouldn't get better under Cuomo, then this same socialist movement would again try it. And they would say, well, here's the problem. You had an establishment Democrat, you had a moderate Democrat, you need a radical. So we would be in this same position in a few years, and they would try this experiment again. I'd rather try it now. I'd rather try it now and let you guys get what you've been wanting for so long and see the fruits of that before we head in to 2028, the next presidential election. So I'm happy that he won. And quite frankly, I know there are a lot of great New Yorkers that are really fearful right now, and I really do feel for them. There's a lot of people that live in New York City, not because they want to, but because they have to for their job. A lot of my colleagues at Fox News being some of those people, and I really do feel for them. But aside of those folks, I'm happy that New York City got this, because I think that the whiny, narcissistic, coexist liberals here that have been clapping for this coexist stuff, clapping for more immigration, for more diversity, all this stuff, I'm happy that they got it, because they've been telling us they want it. But you know what I think is going to be the dark underbelly of all this? A lot of these white, rich liberals, now that they've got it, I think that they're secretly terrified. And I am so happy that they got exactly what they wanted. And I hope that they are just coexisting with the best of them.
I mean, I don't disagree with anything you said there. I mean, you sort of get what you deserve, you get what you vote for. And what's crazy is mamdani is sort of shadowing over the race that's in Minneapolis. I mean, the mayor's race isn't right versus left. It's left versus lefter. It's a fight between the last guy who defunded the police and the new guy who wants to finish the job. It says everything about the modern left that Jacob Frey, the same guy who slashed the police budget and kneeled with protesters, is now being painted as the moderate. He's trying to walk back a movement he helped create. The same crowd that booed him for not abolishing the police now calls him too conservative. That tells you where the Democratic Party has gone. And I mean, you alluded to this. People are fleeing these cities. We're going to get to maybe one person later that is fleeing to New York. But I live in Florida, and my family, my wife's entire family's from New Jersey. They all live here now. Now, it's good news because they're conservatives. But I mean, where are people to go now? I mean, places like Florida are filling up, and I just don't know what people are going to do. And it'll be interesting to see what that city looks like after the chaos that runs through it.
I'm concerned. I'm concerned, like you are, that my great state of Tennessee is going to get filled up with New Yorkers. Florida is just teeming with New Yorkers, and other states, they're going to start just fanning out into other great red states and changing them. Now, I'm one of those people that does tell people that live in deep blue hellholes, get out and flee, because it's not going to get any better. And I really stand by that. But I will say this too. There are a lot of people that flee and then they come to our great red states and they still vote Democrat. And even if they don't vote Democrat, even if they don't vote at all, what I said in my intro, might just be more of an annoyance than a real problem. But I do get sick of the Californians that come to Tennessee. And I'm sure you get sick of the New Yorkers that come to Florida, that even if they kind of understand that socialism and communism and woke, even if they kind of understand that that's not a great policy position, they still bring their shit with them. They still bring we must embrace the trans and no human is illegal and all of this stuff. So we don't want it. And I think we're starting to learn our lesson with that, because I'm fed up with it. I think you wanted that in your state. You wanted that in your city. You should stay there. So I'm no longer the captain of the welcome committee. I'm kind of done with it.
I don't have much to add, because I agree with everything you said there. I mean, what's crazy is these are now the moderate liberals that are coming to our towns, because the policies have gotten so aggressively woke where they're from that they move here and they think they can bring their politics with them, because they don't think they're that left. They think they're sort of these moderates, and they're not. They bring policies with them that they don't understand or not welcome in places like Florida. I mean, I've started to finally see the shift. I mean, COVID was a little bit different because people were literally being oppressed right to their face with masks being put on them, and they were losing freedoms overnight. But these more sort of economic things that are being pushed, I mean, they're bringing now a different sort of migration of people into these states. And I do, for the first time, feel a little bit of change. It's not the same demographic of people that are moving into Florida. And yeah, I mean, I want to be the welcoming committee in the Sunshine State, but you need to come vote the way we vote down here, because we're not going back. Don't New York my Florida.
Yeah, there are a lot of people that are like, well, they're going to bring their money and that's great. And you know what? I agree. Economic stimulus is great. But if you come with all of your social issues, I don't know if that money, I don't know if that's necessarily a fair trade-off. Yeah, we love when people come and they bring their business and they bring their money. That's great. But you know what it also does? And maybe it's not as much of a problem in Florida, but it's certainly a problem in Tennessee. You have people that do bring their money, but they price out the locals, because they come in with all their money and they buy everything up. And then the people that live there can't afford the things anymore. And then, you know, all the New Yorkers and the Californians, they're like, great, it's cheaper here, but they drive up the price for everybody else. And that's another annoyance that I don't think we talk about enough, is pricing out locals. Now, here in Tennessee, in Nashville, Franklin, Brentwood, you've had people that have lived in Tennessee their entire life. I'm not one of those people, right? I am a transplant. But you have the people coming in from California, and now the locals that have lived in Tennessee their entire life, they're being pushed out like further and further and further and further into the outskirts because they can't afford to live in Brentwood and Franklin anymore. And I think that that is a problem that we probably should address.
Oh, 100%. That's something that's not talked about enough. It puts tremendous pressure on the middle class when too many people move to one area. And I'd rather them keep their money and keep their policies somewhere else if their policies are going to come with them. Because in Tampa, where I live, we've seen so much development have to take place in our city. I mean, we've gone nothing but vertical in Tampa over the last 5 years. And it puts so much pressure on public resources that families in need have to rely on. And these streets down here, I mean, my commute to, we used to joke that, you know, you could be at the grocery store in 5 minutes. Well, now it takes you 15 minutes to get to the same grocery store. That's a first world problem, I understand, but you can see how 3 times the amount of travel, what that could do to a 30-minute commute. And then when you get to the grocery store, there's nowhere to park. It's putting stress on families that go beyond just the cost of living. Actually, the navigation of living in Florida is getting to be a point that we can't handle anymore. So I like that you bring that up, because that's something that people aren't talking about enough, the pressure that it puts on the middle class and the lower class in these societies when everybody tends to flock towards them.
Got a Floridian on set who is vigorously nodding with your assessment because he too agrees. It's the same thing here. It's the same thing here in the Nashville area, right? The suburbs are getting full, and they are so full, and we don't have the infrastructure to accommodate all the people moving in. I love growth, but it's got to be sustainable growth. And when you just, you know, flash bang all these people in, it's a problem. So I think you and I share the same sentiments, and it'll be interesting to see how things go. I do want to talk about, I guess, some of the issues that I think we need to address and take a sober look at as Republicans, as conservatives, as MAGA, as all three. I do think that maybe not in New York City, but when you look at New Jersey and Virginia, I do have a little concern. And I have a concern not only because the Democrats won, but I have a concern when I look at the gender gap. And conservatives are not going to like it when I talk about this, but just as liberals pushed away young men, I fear conservatives are pushing away young women, and the numbers don't lie. So I'm wondering if you share some of the same concerns and what you would do to address it.
Oh, 100% on that. So we've sort of seen the liberal men were pushed away, but now if you look at Gen Z, all the reporting is showing that Gen Z men are more conservative than they've ever been. However, that's the good news. The bad news is that Gen Z women are more liberal than they've ever been. So we've done something to cast away the women in our movement, and I can go on for hours about what I think that is. I think that there's been a crisis of masculinity in this country. We had the left sort of hijack masculinity and erase it off the face of the earth, and then we had people that claim to be on the right reinvent masculinity as this crazy toxic thing. And the one thing that they did when they did that was they left women in the dust. You don't hear these men championing masculinity on the right talk about the needs of women, talk about how being part of being masculine is championing women. For every husband, there's a wife. For every brother, there's a sister. It's a coexistence, and men and women are complementary. And too many people on the right, too many men on the right, they claim to be on the right, are championing toxic masculinity. You've heard that term 100 times. I don't like the term. I think masculinity is virtuous, but I don't think we talk about it in a virtuous manner as much as we should. And what is that going to do to the future when you have an entire young generation? Gen Z is in the prime years of either getting married or meeting the person that they should be marrying. If you don't, the perfect marriage for me is aligned vision, aligned values, complementary capabilities. If you don't have an aligned vision and aligned values, that's not going to be a successful marriage. So if we fast forward 10 years, 20 years from now, what does the nuclear family look like when the generation that should be getting married right now doesn't share the same values?
Yeah. You make a good point, and I agree with you on it. I think if the GOP doesn't take a hard look at what they're doing to alienate women, especially young women, we're going to be hurting. 2022, I know that seems like, a lifetime ago, but we lost those 2022 midterms because of abortion. So we should look that in the face and understand why we lost it. We lost it because of abortion. No matter how you feel about the Supreme Court decision, and I agree that it should be left to the states, by the way, but that was an issue that the left was able to weaponize to their advantage and to their favor. Now, that talking point has largely gone away. It was big last year. It didn't work for Democrats last year. It will come back. But not only that, it's not just the abortion, pro-life, pro-choice issue. What I think the right has done to alienate women is this. I don't think we should be telling women how to live their lives. I just don't. I don't think that's a political problem with a political solution. I think that the less we tell women that you need to do this, your family needs to look like this, you need to get married by this age, you need to have kids, you need to have X number of kids, the birth rates are too low, you're doing a disservice to the world if you're not having 5 kids and all this stuff. That might be a personal belief, and it's something that can be addressed socially, but I don't think it should be addressed politically, because there is nothing that women or men hate more than being told how to live their lives. And I understand it's virtuous to say it's great to be married, it's great to have a family. I don't disagree with that premise. But if you look at Gen Z and millennial women, they don't want to be preached to. Just like young men do not want to be preached to by the left about how they should be fruity fruitcakes and wear makeup and wear dresses. So I see a big vulnerability here, and the conservative movement is not going to like me saying it, but I got to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, what you said there would definitely get pushed back in the conservative movement. And so all I would say to that is, and it's complementary to what you just said, is if we're going to allow women to live their lives freely, which I'm a huge proponent of, we need to remove the barriers that get in their way to do that. When you inject men into women's sports, that gets in the way for women to succeed. When you don't allow women to use a bathroom in the privacy of themselves and other women, that gets in the way of a woman's freedom. So I think that these issues, a lot of people think we have these issues under control, the bathroom issues, the woke sports issues. We've made a ton of progress, but I see the left want to continue to impose barriers onto women to prevent them from living the free lives that they're entitled to live to in this country. And the right has to continue to champion those things. We can't dance in the end zone right now. We've got to step on the gas with these issues and continue to fight.
Well, and here's another thing that I wish that the right would lean more into when it comes to winning over female voters. Like I said, I don't think that we should. I think we need to fight the culture wars where they are, especially defending women's sports and spaces. I am completely aligned with you. Get all the LGBTQ barbecue out of schools, because women and mothers certainly do care about that. So that needs to be and remain, school choice, another one, that needs to remain a pillar and an anchor in the conservative movement. However, I will say this. The other things I think that you need to leave aside, how people live their life, how many kids they have, what age they get married, all that stuff. I think that it would be politically smart to not make that the cornerstone of the movement and the message. But I will say, as much as we have this economic message, our economic message is a strong one, but it should be capitalism for everyone. It shouldn't be like capitalism, but women should stay home and have kids. It should be capitalism for all. Be an executive, make money, tax it less so that you have more disposable income to get help around the house, get help with your children so you can still run a business, so you can still be a mom, so you can still be a wife. I think, to your point about opening up possibilities and opportunities, I think that that's where we're going to see success, is if we just say, hey, we want you all to be successful. We don't think that just men should be successful and women should go back to being homemakers. I think that unfortunately the message of the right has been misconstrued in that way, but that's how women are receiving it. So we got to do better. And I just think that we very much can, without compromising any of our principles, just highlight economic issues and law and order, safety and security. I think those two things, that's what win elections.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there. And I'm not one of these people that say women, mothers and wives should be locked in the house all day and clean dishes and cook food and all that, because I say that as a man whose wife works a job, works a full-time job, also serves on the State Board of Education in Florida. And I see how much dignity work brings her, because that ultimately is what work is. Work is dignity. I just know that women, mothers and fathers, fatherhood is a vocation and motherhood is a vocation. And we serve distinct roles in those vocations. And both of us, the men and the women, that should be our highest vocation if we're parents. And we need to make sure that we're fulfilling those roles as much as possible. But families need to earn money. Men and women need to be fulfilled. They need to give back their talents to society and create things. And part of that is having a meaningful job, if that's the vocation someone chooses to go to. So I agree with you.
You're exactly right. It's about choice. It's not about saying you need to be a boss. And it's not about saying you need to be a homemaker. It's about saying do whatever the hell you want to do. And we will have the economic policies in place to make sure that you can achieve at your highest level no matter what your choice is. And we're also going to keep you safe and secure while you do it. That's the winning message. It's not like your life should look like this. Your life should look like that. Your life should look like however you want it to look like. That's not up to us to dictate. We can give and share guidance of our own personal experience. I think that's great, and we should. But I think politically speaking, policy speaking, and I think it would be smart and wise of our economic leaders to put out that message. Do whatever you want to do. You know, if you want to have green hair, have the green hair, right? We don't care. Just we're gonna have the economic policies to make sure that you succeed no matter how many nose rings you have. Well, even though that could be a barrier to employment. But that aside, do what you want to do. Just preach an economic message. I do want to move on, though, to California. Gavin Newsom, he's taken like a huge victory lap. He is so excited. I think he looked at himself in the mirror 100 times last night with just pure joy. But, you know, they passed the Prop 50. They get to redistrict, even though they actually wanted an independent commission and they didn't want to gerrymander. But now they've decided they do want to gerrymander even more. Prop 50 passes. What do you think this means? Do you think this means that Gavin is their guy?
No, I think what just happened in California is not democracy. It's a power grab. No surprise there with Gavin Newsom. Prop 50 is Sacramento's latest scheme to seize control of redistricting and silencing dissent. Here's what Prop 50 does. Prop 50 kills the state's independent redistricting commission, the one voters originally created to take politics out of the process and hand the power back to the partisan legislators. Convenient, predictable, corrupt, all the words that we're used to using with California. In the same election, where, as you said, 92% of voters said they want nonpartisan district lines, they somehow passed a measure that rejects exactly that. Think about the contradiction. Californians just voted for fair play while empowering the referees to cheat. This isn't about efficiency. This isn't about control. This new map was almost, the new map will almost certainly deliver Democrats 4 or 5 in the House. We know that. That's the real motive. It's gerrymandering wrapped in progressive language. And yet, while California was moving the goalpost, Texas was reinforcing the rule book. And we can talk about how what they did in Texas was very different from a constitutional standpoint. California is bending the rules to serve those that are in political office.
Yeah, well, there's a lot we can talk about, too, as far as Texas. Like, all the Californians, y'all went to Texas. And so the population wasn't correctly divvied up, given the fact that you hemorrhaged the actual American citizens that went to Texas. The 2020 census was so flawed for so many reasons. But even, the Census Bureau itself said, yeah, we kind of effed that one up. So what Texas was doing is in response to that, okay? And also, they didn't have to pass a proposition to do it. So it's different. They had to pass one in California, waste money on it, by the way. But what I think is so dumb about this, and I don't want to call Californians dumb, but I think Californians, they might be a little confused, okay? I want to play a clip from last night. We aired it on Fox News. I'm just stunned by it. It goes to your point about how maybe they don't even understand what they did. Let's roll it.
The yes vote in particular with Prop 50. The reason voters said they voted yes on Prop 50, 82% of the case, 8 out of 10 voters say it was to counter the GOP changes, not because they saw it was the best way to draw those district lines. Now, if you go back and look at those who said no to the vote, they said their reasoning to do so is that they saw this as not the best way to draw those district lines, while only 34% said it was to stop the Democrats from adding seats in Congress. A couple other things we're taking away from what voters said there in California. We asked the voters and how they would actually like to see these lines drawn. The irony of this, Trace, is that 9 out of 10 voters, even more so, said they'd like to see this done by a nonpartisan commission, not the party in power. Well, that was preempted with the outcome of this vote.
Okay, so 92% of voters said they wanted a nonpartisan commission to draw district lines, but they voted exactly the opposite of that. I'm speechless.
Yeah, I mean, this is what happens when people, watch TV all day on their liberal networks and get sold a bad bill of goods, and they walk into the voter booth and they don't actually read the policies that they're voting for. They just check a box because it was on a commercial. I mean, politicians just redrew their own lines. Voters didn't choose their representatives. The representatives are choosing their voters in California. That's not self-government. That's self-preservation. And this is the typical problem in politics. And I'm afraid that it's not just a blue state problem. It's an American problem. When one state normalizes manipulation to the clip that you just showed, others are tempted to follow. But the answer isn't to surrender, it's to push back. We need more people like you on this show showing what happened to those voters so it doesn't happen in their own states.
What's your take on if other Republican red states should play the game and redistrict? I don't know how I feel about it. Like, Indiana's like, we could, but we don't really want to because we're going to open up a whole can of worms here, and I completely understand that. But then the other side of me goes, like, Democrats are cutthroat and they're going to do whatever the hell they want. So why are Republicans playing this like cutesy, prudish game? I really don't know how I feel. How do you feel?
I'm probably somewhere like you, somewhere in the middle. I mean, it's the same thing with the filibuster, with the government shutdown. I mean, I've typically been this guy that's like, oh, don't end the filibuster. It's been in there forever. It's not constitutional, by the way. But now it's like, it's gotten to a point in politics where everything is so cut and dry. Everything's so black and white. And when you know the other side is going to turn around and do something right behind your back, or not even behind your back anymore, you just know they're going to do it right out in the front. I mean, why wouldn't you go do the same thing they're doing? I mean, it's one thing to be sort of principled and sound and all that, but when the rules of the game have changed, I mean, let's play by the rules that they're playing by as well, or the game's going to be rigged in their favor. I'd like to say that, every state has its own constitution and these things should be done through the Constitution. I'll always say that about a constitution. But I mean, if the Democrats are rewriting the rules, let's play by the rules they want to write, because the census is coming and all this is going to change.
Yeah, see, and that's the thing, too, is if we actually do the tit for the tat, they've already tatted. So we need to be titting. That's the thing. Right. Okay? Because they've already done it. Like, they've already gerrymandered to such an extent. It's like, if we play the game, like, we'll win. But for some reason, there's a lot of Republicans that don't want to play the game. And I get it, because it's like, it's not in our nature to play dirty. It's just not. But at some point, you need to decide, like, the survival of the country, not even just your party, but the country. I think we're seeing what happens when Democrats are able to amass power, usually through mass migration, by the way. They do things like they did in New York City. They avoided it in Minneapolis. But as to your point, like, yeah, they didn't get the Fatah guy, but they got Jacob over there, Mr. Let's kiss George Floyd's casket and let the city burn to the ground. So we kind of got to play the game for our own salvation. Another thing beyond the gender gap that I am worried about, too, and that's why I'm so supportive of the mass deportations, just look what happens when you import the third world into your cities. I know we're not supposed to say that. Oh, don't say it. We probably got to say it, because there are entire American cities that are being completely and entirely transformed. And I know that we say, oh, we'll never have Sharia law and all this stuff. But yeah, I think 10 years from now, if we're not careful, we could certainly be talking about that possibility.
Yeah, there was some clips coming out of New York last night where they were, preaching, praying to Allah and preaching to Allah. And like, we have freedom of religion in this country, but free to exercise your religion doesn't mean you're free, doesn't give you the power to replace another religion. And I don't feel like people out there that are preaching some of the things that they're preaching are for their own good. I don't think they're even trying to convert people. I think they're trying to replace the foundation that this country was built on, Judeo-Christian values. I mean, our founding is what gives them the right to practice their religion freely in this country, and they can't at the same time try to go out and replace ours. And that's a big thing with immigration, is assimilation. If you're going to come to this country, you have to at least, you don't have to adopt our religion, but you have to adopt our values and the virtues that made our country great, or else why come here? There is a reason you want to be here. It probably has something to do with what we've built over the last 250 years. You should have an obligation, maybe a legal obligation, to adopt some of those ideals so that we don't completely change what this country looks like in one generation.
Yeah, and we're never supposed to say this stuff, but I think we're also at a point where we need to just say it, by the way. And I think for the people, I totally agree with you. We have freedom of religion here. If you want to be a Muslim in America, that's your right to be it. And I don't take issue with it. But there are parts of Islam that are incompatible with American values. Sharia law being one of them. God, I would hope so. God, I would hope we could all say that, right? I would hope that we could all say that things like Sharia law and globalize the Intifada and praising Hamas and, Hezbollah and all the others, I would think that we'd be safe to say, yeah, no, we reject that. But I would also say this. We as a country also get to decide who we bring into this country, because a lot of these people that came in and fundamentally changed these cities like Dearborn, Michigan and Minneapolis, Minnesota, right? They were not necessarily invited in, but they were allowed to come in, many as refugees, migrants, all this stuff. And we said, hey, listen, your country is a shithole. You can come to ours to seek refuge. And we want to afford you that protection, which is the American thing to do. But then those guests came over, and instead of being grateful guests who brought their culture but also respected ours, they said, thanks for bringing us in. Now, F you. We're taking over. There's a problem that I have with that.
Yeah, I mean, 100%, and they're rewarded for doing it. Zoran Mamdani takes a picture with the gentleman. I'm blanking on his name, but he's tied to the First World Trade Center bombing, and he has a religion that preaches killing of anybody on that LGBTQ spectrum, killing them. Okay, that's the punishment for being those things. And he's out here putting his arm around him, taking a picture with him, smiling, and then not all, but the overwhelming majority of the LGBT community in New York goes and votes for this guy. So you and I can agree and talk about it all we want, but until it's not rewarded anymore and people can't actually run on that platform, it's going to be hard to do something about it.
I'm also really uncomfortable with the fact that we can't point these things out and not be called Islamophobic, right? It's not Islamophobic to say, hey, this guy's taking a picture with an unindicted co-conspirator of a terrorist attack. That's a problem. But if you say that, like, this guy's palling around with an unindicted co-conspirator of a terrorist attack, that's problematic. It's like, oh, it's because he's Muslim? No, it's because he took a picture with somebody who is an unindicted co-conspirator of a terrorist attack. Oh, and by the way, refused to condemn, globalize the Intifada. So people say, oh, it's just because he's Muslim. No, it's not because it's Muslim. It's because of the things that he's doing and saying and people that he's hanging out with that openly embrace terrorism. And that's what we have a problem with. So I'm done with this whole, like, we have to be kind of careful how we say it. No. You're not going to take that from us. Okay? We are more than able and capable and afforded the right to criticize actions like that. And I think that I think we've gotten smart to this a lot, but I think we need to be even more forthright about it.
I agree. Good thing this isn't a debate show today, because I agree with pretty much everything you say there. I mean, you can attack an individual and you can attack actions that they've taken without attacking a religion or something like that other people are under that umbrella that maybe wouldn't do those things. But at the same time, there are ideological beliefs and religions out there that do promote violence, okay? And I don't think it's a phobia to say that those things are bad and we shouldn't normalize those things or promote them or run on platforms that promote them and want to grow them in our country. I mean, our country wasn't built that way, and it could be destroyed that way. So I think that the race baiting and all these phobias and all that get thrown around, and they used to sort of hurt more as an attack than they do, back in cancel culture days. But I do think we've moved past that, and there's people out here like you that are willing to say the things you're willing to say, and that motivates others to say, you know what, I might agree with Tomi on that. Maybe I should think about that more and not be so afraid to air my beliefs out there.
I think most people are uncomfortable with it, but everyone's so afraid of being called an ism or an ist or a whatever that people don't say it. A phobia is an irrational fear. Saying, I have a problem with globalize the Intifada, I have a problem with Sharia, I have a problem with Hamas, I have a problem with Hezbollah, I have a problem with ISIS, okay? That's not an irrational fear. That's a very legitimate fear. So I'm just so tired of being like, and you know what? Perfect example. Look what Europe has done. Europe has said, we have to be comfortable with this. We must coexist. Look at London, all right? Look at Paris. They got real comfortable with it because everyone was too uncomfortable to say anything. And now those cities and entire countries, they don't look the same. They've entirely ceded over their unique historic culture to another part of the world. And because they're too polite to say, I'm uncomfortable with this. They shouldn't be.
Courage is uncomfortable, and we need to have the courage to say that we are emphatically pro-America. We love America. We want America's best interests at all times. And if there's something that goes against that, we're not going to be for that, because you can't be pro-America and pro something that is trying to tear it down and change it from the inside now. So I'm not afraid to say those things, and I would appreciate others, being the same way like you are.
Yeah. Well, I want to turn to something that's completely unrelated to any of the very serious stuff we've been talking about, because I think we need to end it on a high note, even though it's been a real weird week. I want to get your take on this. It's non-political for the most part. We got Tom Brady, all right? He admits that he cloned his dog, okay? I have 2 dogs that I love pretty much more than anything in the entire world, but I personally don't really like this. And I don't think that this should become the norm. What's your take?
The only thing I want Tom Brady cloning is his Bucs Super Bowl title, because I live here in Tampa Bay and was at that game, and it was lovely. This is peak Tom Brady. I mean, the guy doesn't like to lose, so why should he have to lose his dog? But I mean, in all seriousness, Tom Brady cloning his dog is peak modern culture. We can't accept loss or limits anymore. Instead of honoring the natural cycle of life, we want to engineer eternity. Conservatives believe that there's beauty in letting go and gratitude for the time we're given, but not trying to outsmart morality. I get loving your dog. We lost a dog last year. It's man's best friend. But what makes a dog special is that unique. You can't clone loyalty or personality. It's the same reason we value family, not because we can replace it, but because each soul is sort of one of a kind.
And he's invested in a company that, engineers this technology. So there's a personal gain in there for him. I like the guy. I think he's a great guy. But, my thing on this, too, I'm a big, adopt, don't shop type person. And when I think about all the animals and I think it was a pit bull mix, right? I think of all the pit bull mixes that are sitting in shelters right now that would desperately love a home with Tom Brady or anyone else. And it's like you had to clone it. Like you couldn't go rescue and give another dog a great life with you. That's where I also have an issue with it. So, unfortunately, the technology, it's going to roll out. I don't know if we can stop it, but I certainly hope that we can, put some guardrails around some of this, because I have some concerns about some of this cloning stuff. And I don't like the celebrities normalizing it. I wish they would stop.
I'm pro-adoption. We adopted a dog last year after our other one passed away, and I would encourage everyone to go to their local Humane Society and pick out a new friend and bring it home and rescue that dog's life. They will love you like more than any other dog that you bought wherever you buy your dogs, because they know they're rescued and it's a special relationship.
I love it. I knew that you and I would agree on almost everything, and I always appreciate the conversation. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me. Best of luck in Florida. You guys gotta take down some of the welcome signs, maybe just a few of them, because you guys are gonna get full. And I don't know, full in the best way. So we'll see what happens. But thank you so much. Always great to talk to you.
Thanks, Tommy. Appreciate it.
Tomorrow is the big day, the most patriotic award show on television, the Fox Nation Patriot Awards. This is going to be our biggest Patriot Awards show yet, packed with special guests, surprise performances, brand new awards, and so much more. There are limited tickets available, so go to get them now at foxnation.com/Patriot Awards. We hope to see you there. You can also watch live this Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern exclusively on foxnation.com. You don't want to miss it. Catch full episodes of this show on Outkick and Fox Nation. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Tomi Lahren is Fearless. From Nashville, God bless and take care. Hey, thanks for watching. For more of my hottest takes, must-see conversations, and of course, my final thoughts, click right here. And don't forget to subscribe. Just click right here so you never miss a beat. I will be here every weekday, and I hope you'll join me.